are worries about what North Korea could do with a nuclear weapon, of course. One of them sounds like science fiction, but many people say the threat is real. Tonight, correspondent Doug McKelway looks at both sides of the EMP debate.
Today, the old duck and cover films from Cold War days seem campy and quaint. To many, a nuclear blast and its resultant electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, seems so unimaginable, so unlikely, that few worry about it, and fewer still take any precautions.
It's not real, and it's something out of a James Bond movie. The general consensus is that it's not a real threat. It's not imminent by any stretch of the imagination.
Tell that to Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, who heads Congress's EMP Commission.
We have information, for example, the data from actual high-altitude nuclear detonations that were conducted by us and the Russians back in the 1961-62 time frame that did things like knock the lights out in Hawaii.
An EMP is a short burst of electromagnetic energy that all nuclear explosions produce to varying degrees. A large EMP triggered over the United States from an orbiting nuke at the right altitude could fry the circuitry of cell phones, render electronic banking, automobile computers, railways, air traffic control, and airplanes themselves useless. Food would rot in refrigerators and in farm fields, with no means of transporting agri-products to population centers. In the following weeks and months, a truly Mad Max world would evolve. Dr. Pry believes a naivete about EMP pervades the Western democracies, where nukes are kept mostly out of sight and out of mind.
But for totalitarian and authoritarian states, as in the case of Iran and possibly North Korea, the use of nuclear weapons is not only unthinkable, but in their open source military doctrine, they've written for years about being able to win a nuclear war, that you can fight a nuclear war.
Adding to EMP worries, North Korea's recent successful test of a solid-fueled ballistic missile. The solid fuel needs less preparation, meaning less warning time for those targeted. In addition, North Korea also has at least 2 observation satellites that orbit over the U.S. at an altitude ideal for an EMP attack. For years, Congress has struggled with many bills designed to harden the nation's electric grid against an EMP attack, but none have made it out of committee. Special interests often intervene, fearful of the cost of upgrades when the effects of an EMP attack are still being disputed. Brett?
Doug, thank you.
All right, North Korea claiming its hydrogen bomb is 5 times more powerful than the one dropped on Nagasaki that helped end World War II. Joining us now to break down the differences and their threats is Director of Defense Studies at the Center for National Interest, Harry, can you pronounce it for me, sir? Kazianis?
Kazianis.
I want to get it right. I want to do well by you. You're an expert. You deserve that respect. Harry, if you would, give us a sense. Do you think this was a hydrogen bomb? And if so, what does it tell us?
Well, Pete, it's tough to tell if this is a hydrogen bomb or not. My own sources at the Pentagon, which I actually wrote a piece for Fox Opinion just a couple weeks ago on this, they were thinking actually the North Koreans were anywhere from 6 to 18 months away when it came to a hydrogen bomb. So what we might be actually seeing late last night is that the North Koreans could be testing sort of the conceptual design of a hydrogen bomb. And keep in mind, for a hydrogen bomb, we're usually talking in the millions of tons of TNT. The test that was last night was 100 kilotons, or roughly 100,000 tons of TNT. So that would be a very small hydrogen bomb. But I think the intent is very clear. The North Koreans are rapidly building up their nuclear weapons capabilities. We have to be concerned, and I think the president is going to take some bold actions.
The graphic on our screen right now shows how much larger this test was last night, 120 kilotons, than even just the previous one a year ago, 10 kilotons. So no matter what, they've advanced their technology substantially. Do you believe they have the ability yet to couple it with an ICBM, a missile that could reach us?
Well, that's the trick here. Usually a hydrogen bomb, to take that design and basically scale it down and make it small enough to put it on the nose cone of a warhead and then be able to deliver that on a target thousands of miles away. That's a hard thing to do. So where I would argue here, Pete, is the North Koreans are probably at the very start of this design process for a hydrogen bomb. But I still think the North Koreans have the capability to still take a standard atomic bomb and hit the United States. That's just dangerous in and of itself.
So, Harry, we're talking about sanctions, tougher on China, trying to use all the diplomatic and economic leverage that we can. But you're saying there may be at the start of the process of getting in their mind, the ultimate weapon. If we were to take preemptive military action in any size or scope, would now not be a better time than waiting until they're further down the process or potentially have it?
Here's the problem with military options. Let's face it, North Korea is the land of lousy options. The challenge is this. If we launched a tremendous military strike on North Korea, first of all, it would take us a couple weeks to get that together. The North Koreans would see that coming, probably strike first. But even if we're able to do that, let's suppose the North Koreans have, I don't know, 30 nuclear weapons, and we get 28 of them. That still would leave 2 nuclear weapons left. I guarantee you Kim Jong-un is going to fire one of those at Seoul, Tokyo, or Los Angeles. That's why a military option at this point, unless the North Koreans attack us first, is not a good one.
You got to, if you do it, you got to do it all in, and doing so is a pretty difficult proposition. Harry, thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
North Korea now saying nuclear war could break out at any moment. It's claiming the U.S. is moving the needle toward a nuclear crisis. Quote, unless the hostile policy and the nuclear threat of the U.S. is thoroughly eradicated, we will never put our nuclear weapons and ballistic rockets on the negotiation table under any circumstance. Now, these latest threats, as Vice President Mike Pence says, the U.S. is looking for a peaceful resolution.
To be clear, the United States of America will continue to bring the full range of American power to bear on the regime in Pyongyang, as we hope to achieve through diplomatic and economic means a peaceable solution and the achievement of the long-sought goal of a nuclear-free Korean peninsula.
John Bolton, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Senior Fellow American Enterprise Institute, and a Fox News contributor. And, sir, good morning to you. So the rhetoric's hot. Does it match the facts?
This is propaganda from the North Koreans. They're trying to intimidate those Americans who are capable of being intimidated, and unfortunately there are a large number of them. The threat in the region is North Korea's nuclear weapons program. That's what we've been grappling with unsuccessfully for 25 years. And the idea that somehow we're responsible for it really is ludicrous, except to those who buy that kind of North Korean propaganda.
Now, you used to work at the UN. You know this stuff very well. Apparently, the prepared remarks had that comment, nuclear war may break out at any moment, but it was not read out loud. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, they're very good at getting what they want out without actually having it on the record that way. So the very fact we're talking about, it shows that they're successful. I think what it means for American policy, though, is we've just got to keep our eye on the ball. They are definitely getting close to the capacity to hit targets all over the continental United States. They said the other day, though, they wouldn't negotiate until they already had that capability. So time is running out. It has been running out, and it's landed in the Trump administration's lap. But nobody should be under any illusions that after 25 years and getting this close to the finish line, North Korea is going to be talked out of its nuclear weapons program. That is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Right. I think the only diplomatic possibility here is with China to put either enough pressure on the regime in North Korea that it collapses, or to acknowledge we need to reunite the two Koreas. Otherwise, the options look a lot grimmer. And I think we have to acknowledge that. Otherwise, look, there's an easy answer here. We can just stop all this and let North Korea get nuclear weapons and live with it. That's what Susan Rice, the national security in the Obama administration, wants to do.
Well, Secretary Kelly last week said it's developing a pretty good nuclear re-entry vehicle, so the program continues to advance, as you point out there. They think we want to take their leader out. Our leader goes there in November. President Trump will visit South Korea. He may go to the DMZ. How significant should we view that trip, sir?
Well, this trip to Asia is very significant in a number of respects. He'll be in Japan, South Korea, then China, then Southeast Asia. I definitely think it's important for the president to go to South Korea. I know he's been there before. I don't know if he's been to the demilitarized zone. It's something that I wish every American could see and confront the North Koreans. But I think this is very important to show them that we are determined, as the president said in his speech to the United Nations a few weeks ago, that as far as North Korea goes, denuclearization is the only way forward, meaning they are not left with nuclear weapons, period.
Thank you, sir. We will talk again about this, too.